Some men stay because they're loved. Others stay because leaving means losing the only family they've ever known. This is Daniel's confession.
For 2 years after my divorce, I kept showing up for a family that wasn't mine anymore. Every Sunday, every birthday, every Christmas, I told myself I was doing it because I loved them. Looking back, I think I was just afraid of being alone again. My name is Daniel, and this is my confession. Before I tell you how I became my ex-wife's family's personal bank account, I need to take you back to the Christmas when I finally understood what I meant to them. I sat in my car for almost 10 minutes before turning the engine off. The driveway was already full. Warm lights glowed through the windows. Inside, people were laughing, talking, passing plates from one room to another. It looked exactly the way Christmas was supposed to look. I reached into the back seat and picked up the first stack of presents. There was still more in the boot. Every gift had been carefully wrapped. Every tag had a name on it. I'd spent weeks making sure nobody was forgotten. Whiskey for Leslie's dad, a designer handbag her mom had admired months earlier, a laptop for her younger sister, the latest games console for her nephew. Even the family dog had something waiting for him. Buying presents had always been my favorite part of Christmas. Watching someone open something they never expected. For a few moments, it made me feel like I belonged. I locked the car and walked towards the house. Before I could knock, the door swung open. Dad. Miles launched himself straight into my arms. I nearly dropped everything. Easy there, mate, I laughed, holding him tightly. That hug, it was worth every awkward moment that came after. When I stepped inside, everything felt familiar. The tree in the same corner, the smell of Christmas dinner, music playing softly somewhere in the house. For just a second, it almost felt like nothing had changed. Then I looked across the room. Leslie was standing beside Dave. She caught my eye and smiled politely. The kind of smile you give someone who's become a stranger you still have history with. I smiled back. I'd had plenty of practice pretending I was okay. What I didn't know was that before the night was over, one ordinary conversation would finally make me realize I had never really been part of that family at all. People often assume money changes everything. It doesn't. It can buy comfort. It can buy freedom. It can even buy silence. But there are some things no amount of money can replace. Family is one of them. I don't remember my parents. Not their faces. Not their voices. Not even the sound of them saying my name. By the time I was old enough to understand what home meant, I'd already lived in more houses than I could remember. Some foster families were kind. Others simply treated me like another mouth to feed. I learned very early not to get too attached, because just when somewhere started to feel like home, it was usually time to pack another bag. Birthdays were just another day. Christmas was always different. Different houses, different people, different rules. I used to hear other children complain about their parents and secretly wonder what that must feel like. To know that whatever happened, someone would always come back for you. Nobody ever came back for me. Eventually, I stopped expecting them to. So I buried myself in books. Then I discovered computers. While other kids were outside playing football, I was teaching myself to code on old machines people had thrown away. Computers made sense to me. People didn't. A computer never pretended to care. It either worked or it didn't. Sometimes I wished people were that simple. By my 20s, I had one goal: not to become rich, not even to become successful. I wanted to build a life where I would never have to depend on anyone again. And then I met Leslie. For the first time in my life, someone made me wonder whether doing everything alone was really the same thing as being strong. I thought I was falling in love with one woman. I had no idea. I was about to fall in love with an entire family. I met Leslie when I was 28. Back then, I was still trying to grow my software business. It paid the bills, but it was nowhere near the company it would eventually become. Leslie didn't care about any of that. She never asked how much money I made, never asked what car I drove, or what neighborhood I lived in. Instead, she asked me things nobody else ever had: whether I'd eaten, whether I was getting enough sleep, why I always looked like I had the weight of the world on my shoulders. It caught me off guard. I wasn't used to someone caring about me without wanting something in return. She had this way of making ordinary moments feel important. A walk through the park somehow meant more to me than an expensive restaurant. A quiet evening watching films could make me forget about work completely. For the first time, I wasn't thinking about the business every minute of the day. I was thinking about her. A few months later, she asked if I wanted to have dinner with her parents. I won't lie, I was nervous. Not just because I was meeting her family, but because I had never really done this before. Growing up in foster care meant there weren't many family dinners. Nobody asked me to bring dessert. Nobody saved me a seat at the table. I had no idea what to expect. When we arrived, her dad opened the door. He shook my hand. Her mom invited me inside while she finished cooking. The house was loud. Someone was laughing in the kitchen. People were talking over each other. Music played quietly in the background. It was messy, chaotic, and somehow perfect. I mostly sat there listening, watching brothers tease each other, parents disagree over how something should be cooked, everyone talking at once. Nobody seemed bothered by the noise, because to them, this was normal. To me, it was something I'd spent my whole childhood watching other people have. Driving home that night, I looked out of the window and allowed myself to think something I hadn't in years. Maybe, just maybe, I'd finally found somewhere I could belong. I didn't know then that belonging would eventually become the hardest thing for me to let go of. Looking back, I understood why those first few months sometimes felt uncomfortable. I was the first black man Leslie's family had ever welcomed into their lives this way. Nobody came out and said they disapproved. Nobody told me I wasn't welcome. But sometimes, silence says more than words ever could. Whenever our future came up, the room seemed to change. There were pauses that didn't need explaining, questions that sounded innocent, but stayed with me long after I'd gone home. Have you two really thought this through? Do you think life will be easy? What about when you have children? Do you think people will accept it? They never mentioned my skin color. They didn't have to. I could feel the real question sitting quietly at the end of the dinner table. Would I ever truly fit into their family? I never argued with them, and I never tried to buy their approval. I simply kept showing up. I loved their daughter, and over time, they saw how I treated Leslie when nobody was watching, how serious I was about our future, how happy we were together. Slowly, things began to change. Her dad started greeting me with a hug instead of a handshake. Her mom began making sure there was always a place for me at Sunday dinner. The conversations became longer. The laughter became easier. And eventually, I stopped feeling like someone they were still deciding about. I started feeling like family. By then, my business was doing better too. Not extraordinarily well yet, but well enough that I could occasionally spoil the woman I loved. When Leslie mentioned she was tired of catching 2 buses to work every morning, I surprised her with a car. She stood there speechless, then burst into tears and wrapped her arms around me. Months later, she told me she'd always dreamed of seeing so when I could afford it, I took her, watching the sun disappear into the sea beside her. I remember thinking, if this is what love feels like, I never wanted to end. Birthdays became another excuse to make her smile. A handbag she'd quietly admired, a dress she never would have bought for herself, flowers delivered to her office for no reason. She never demanded those things. I gave them because making her happy made me happy. One evening, as we were driving home, Leslie looked at me and smiled. You know, my parents really love you now. I looked at her. Really? She nodded. They've seen who you are. For the first time in my life, I stopped feeling like the outsider. I thought I'd finally earned something money could never buy. a place in a family. I just didn't realize that soon money would become tangled up with that feeling in a way I wouldn't recognize until years later. It didn't happen overnight. Nobody sat me down and asked for money. Nobody handed me a list of bills. Looking back, that's probably why I never saw the pattern beginning. One evening, Leslie and I were having dinner at home. She seemed quieter than usual. I asked what was wrong. She sighed. Dad's been really stressed lately. I asked why. She told me the mortgage payments had become difficult. Interest rates had gone up. Money was tight. Her dad had started working extra hours just to keep up. Leslie wasn't asking me for anything. She was worried about him. And I remember thinking, if that were my dad, I'd want someone to help him too. So I asked one question. How much is left? She looked at me, almost shocked. Then she told me. The next morning, I called my bank. By the end of the week, the mortgage was gone. I didn't tell her parents beforehand. I wanted it to be a surprise. That Sunday, we arrived at their house, and her dad looked completely confused. He'd received confirmation that the balance had been cleared. He thought there'd been some mistake. Leslie looked across the room at me. I smiled. She knew. A few minutes later, she told them what I'd done. The room went silent. Her mom started crying. Her dad walked over to me. For a few seconds, he couldn't speak. Then he wrapped his arms around me. I've never had anyone do something like this for us. And that afternoon, something shifted inside me. Not because I'd paid off a mortgage, but because of what their reaction gave me. For the first time, I felt completely secure in that family. Not Leslie's boyfriend, not the black man their daughter had brought home, not a guest at their table. Family. Driving home that evening, Leslie reached across and held my hand. I don't think they'll ever forget what you did today. She was right. They never forgot, and neither did I, because without realizing it, I had connected to things in my mind that should never have needed connecting, giving and belonging. From that moment on, helping would slowly stop feeling like something I chose to do, and eventually become something everyone expected me to do. After I paid off the mortgage, life settled into a routine. Every Saturday evening, we'd meet at Leslie's parents' house. Her mom loved cooking. She'd spend half the afternoon in the kitchen, making enough food to feed a small army. We'd squeeze around one table, talking over each other, laughing, arguing about football, sharing whatever had happened that week. Those Saturdays became something I genuinely looked forward to. Then one weekend, I had an idea. What if we all went out for Sunday dinner tomorrow? Everyone agreed. The next day, we met at a local restaurant. When the bill arrived, Leslie's dad reached for it first. I stopped him. This one's on me. He smiled. You don't have to do that. I know. I want to. The following Sunday, we went again. This time, Leslie's mom tried to pay. I laughed and handed my card over before she could. Not happening. Everyone laughed, and somehow, that became our tradition. Saturday night at the house, Sunday dinner at the restaurant, every week. At first, someone always offered to split the bill. You paid last week. It's our turn. And I'd always say the same thing. You can get the next one. Nobody ever did. Back then, I didn't see anything wrong with that. I was doing well. I enjoyed treating them, and more importantly, I enjoyed being the kind of man who could take care of the people he loved, week after week, month after month. The conversations about the bill became shorter, then they disappeared completely. Eventually, even the waiter stopped asking whose card it was. He'd bring the bill, walk straight towards me, and I'd already be reaching for my wallet. No discussion, no awkwardness. Just routine. Looking back, I don't think any of us noticed the exact moment generosity became expectation, because it didn't happen all at once. It happened one Sunday at a time, and around that same period, my business started growing faster than I'd ever imagined. Soon, Sunday dinner would become the smallest thing I was paying for. Around that time, Everything I'd spent years working towards finally started happening. The software company I'd built from my spare bedroom began growing faster than I could have imagined. Clients who'd ignored my emails a year earlier were suddenly asking for meetings. We hired more people, moved into a proper office, signed contracts I once thought were impossible. Within a few years, the business had become one of the largest IT companies in the country. Even now, saying that feels strange, because somewhere in my head, I was still that boy from foster care who never knew where he might be living a few months later. The money changed my circumstances, but I don't think it changed the part of me that mattered. If anything, it made giving easier. When Leslie mentioned her mom had always dreamed of seeing Italy, I booked a holiday for the whole family, everyone. Watching them together on that trip, her dad taking hundreds of photographs, her mom standing in Florence, with tears in her eyes because she'd never imagined she'd see it for herself. That meant more to me than another business deal ever could. Birthdays became bigger, Christmas became bigger. If one of the children needed a laptop for school, I'd quietly buy it. If somebody was struggling with an unexpected bill, I'd help. I never wanted anyone to feel embarrassed about needing something, because I knew what it felt like to need help. And the strange thing was, the more I gave, the closer we seemed to become. Her dad introduced me to people as his son-in-law, with a smile that made me proud. Her mom started ending phone calls with, "Love you, Daniel." The first time she said it, I sat in my car afterwards and cried. Not because those 3 words were extraordinary to anyone else, but because outside of Leslie, I couldn't remember anyone ever saying them to me and making me believe they meant it. I thought I'd finally found the family I'd spent my whole life searching for. And when you believe you've finally found something you spent your childhood without, you don't spend much time asking what it might cost you to keep it. Then, Leslie started changing. At first, it was so subtle. I convinced myself I was imagining it. If you'd asked me back then, I would have told you my life was almost perfect. I had a business I loved, a little boy who made every day brighter, a family I'd spent years becoming part of, and a wife I couldn't imagine living without. That's probably why I didn't recognize what was happening. There wasn't one big moment, no explosive argument, no confession. It started with little things. Leslie stopped calling me during the day. She used to ring just to ask what I wanted for dinner, or tell me something funny that had happened at work. Slowly, those calls disappeared. Then I noticed how much time she was spending on her phone. Sometimes when I walked into the room, the screen would lock. I noticed, of course, but I told myself not to become that husband. Suspicious, insecure, watching everything she did. Then came the late evenings. Work had become busier. At least, that's what she told me. And I believed her. Because when you've trusted someone for years, you don't suddenly assume the worst. One Friday evening, I'd planned dinner for the 2 of us. Nothing extravagant, just somewhere quiet. The kind of evening we used to have before everything became so busy. About an hour before we were supposed to leave, she called. "I'm really sorry. I can't make it. We've had a last-minute problem at work." I remember looking at the flowers I'd bought, the babysitter I'd arranged for Miles, and thinking, these things happen. We'll go another time. Except, another time never seemed to come. Days became weeks. Weeks became months. The woman who used to tell me everything now barely told me anything. And I kept asking myself, was Leslie changing? Or was I finally noticing something I didn't want to see? Then one name started appearing more often. Dave. At first, he was just a colleague. At least, that's what I believed. And if you'd asked me whether I trusted my wife, I would have said yes, without hesitation. What I didn't understand then was that trust and denial can sometimes look exactly the same. The more distant Leslie became, the harder I tried. I convinced myself maybe I hadn't been giving her enough of me. Maybe work had taken over. Maybe I'd become so focused on providing for my family that I'd forgotten to be present in it. So I started leaving the office earlier. I switched my phone off during dinner. I planned weekends away, just the two of us. Sometimes she came. Sometimes she said she was too tired. I never pushed. I just kept trying. One evening, after Miles had gone to bed, I finally asked her, "Are we okay?" She looked at me for a few seconds. "I don't know." Those 3 words frightened me more than an argument would have, because she wasn't angry. She wasn't accusing me of anything. She simply wasn't certain about us anymore. I asked if I'd done something wrong. She shook her head. "No, I just don't feel the same anymore." I remember sitting there, trying to understand how someone could be falling out of love, while I was still trying desperately to fall back into the life we used to have. Over the next few months, we tried counseling. We talked. We promised to make more time for each other. For a while, things would improve. Then, slowly, they'd slip back again. It felt like trying to hold water in my hands. No matter how tightly I held on, it kept slipping away. And the hardest part wasn't fighting with Leslie. It was that eventually, there wasn't much fighting left to do. She was still sitting beside me. But somehow, she already felt somewhere else. Then one afternoon, she asked if we could talk. I knew from the look on her face, whatever came next was going to change everything. She didn't tell me she'd met someone else. She didn't shout. She didn't blame me. She simply said, "I think we should separate," and just like that, the family I had spent years building started falling apart. The weeks after we separated were some of the hardest of my life. Leslie moved back into her parents' house with Miles, and suddenly, the home we'd built together was quiet. Every room seemed to contain some reminder of the life I thought we were still supposed to have. But despite everything, I still believed Leslie and I would find our way back to each other. People separate. Sometimes they need space. Sometimes they need time. Sometimes they come back. At least, that's what I kept telling myself. A few weeks later, I asked Leslie's parents if I could come round. I didn't want them taking sides. I wanted their advice. I remember sitting there and saying, "I don't want to lose her, and I don't want Miles growing up between 2 homes." Her dad listened quietly. Then he said, "Daniel, the best thing you can do right now is give Leslie some time." Her mom agreed. "If you keep pushing, you'll only push her further away. Let her clear her head. If it's meant to be, she come back." I held on to those words. They weren't telling me it was over. At least, that wasn't what I heard. So I gave Leslie space. I called less, focused on work, waited, and every weekend, I still went to her parents' house. They kept inviting me. They told me I'd always be welcome. Every now and then, someone would mention Dave. "Dave's back in town. I heard he's doing well. Apparently, he's still single." The comments never lasted long, and I never connected them to Leslie. Why would I? Then one Sunday, I pulled into the driveway and saw a car I didn't recognize. I walked through the front door, and there he was. Dave, sitting at the dining table, laughing with everyone, as though he'd always belonged there. The room went quiet. I looked at Leslie. She couldn't meet my eyes. Then she said, "Daniel, I didn't know how to tell you." And suddenly, all those little things I'd spent months explaining away stopped needing explanations. The phone, the late evenings, the distance. Dave. I looked at him sitting at that table and understood that while I'd been waiting for my marriage to come back, everyone else already knew it wasn't coming. Her dad finally broke the silence. "Daniel, come and sit down." And somehow, I did. I thought seeing Dave sitting there would be the hardest part. It wasn't, because even after the divorce became final, I still couldn't bring myself to leave that family behind. The divorce became final 3 months later. I remember walking out of the solicitor's office with a folder under my arm, one signature, one handshake, and 9 years of marriage was officially over. People kept telling me the same things. You need to move on. You deserve better. Cut all ties. Maybe they were right, but they didn't understand what I was actually grieving. Yes, I had lost my wife, but I was terrified I'd lost something else too. The only family I'd ever believed was mine. A few days after the divorce, Leslie's mom called. I almost didn't answer. When I did, she spoke as though nothing had changed. We're all having dinner on Saturday. You should come. For a moment, I didn't know what to say. Part of me knew going back was probably a terrible idea, but another part of me, the boy who'd spent his childhood waiting for somewhere to feel permanent, couldn't say no. So I went, and Saturday felt almost normal. Her mom cooked. Her dad asked about work. Miles spent half the evening beside me. For a few hours, I let myself believe maybe some things didn't have to change. Then Sunday came. Our usual restaurant, our usual table. Except now, Dave was there too, sitting beside Leslie. It hurt, but Miles sat beside me. Her parents talked to me normally. Nobody treated me like an outsider. And when the waiter brought the bill, he walked straight towards me. I smiled, reached into my pocket, and handed him my card. Nobody forced me. Nobody even asked. That matters, because at this point, I was still volunteering. Driving home that evening, I realized the marriage was over. But maybe the family didn't have to be. If I could still be Miles' dad, still sit around that table, still hear her mom say, "Love you, Daniel," then perhaps losing Leslie didn't have to mean losing everyone. Looking back, I wasn't holding on to them. I was holding on to the feeling they gave me, the feeling that I belonged somewhere. And once you've spent your whole childhood searching for that feeling, you can become very good at ignoring what it costs to keep it. Weeks became months, and slowly, something changed. I was still behaving as though I was part of the family, but everyone else had begun treating me like something else. For a while, life settled into this strange new routine. Every Saturday, I still drove to Leslie's parents' house. Her mom still cooked. Her dad still asked about work. Miles still ran to the door when he heard my car. Those moments convinced me I'd made the right decision. Maybe divorce didn't have to destroy everything. Maybe families could change shape. Then every Sunday, we'd meet at the same restaurant, same waiter, same table, same conversations. If someone had walked in halfway through dinner, they might have thought we were one big happy family. Except Dave now sat beside Leslie, and I sat opposite them. It hurt every week, but eventually, I became very good at pretending it didn't. One Sunday, the waiter brought the bill. As usual, he walked straight towards me. Before he even reached the table, my card was already in my hand. Nobody asked if I was paying. Nobody offered to split it. By then, it was simply what Daniel did, and I still told myself the same thing. I had the money. They were family. What was the problem? Then Leslie's younger sister mentioned her washing machine had broken. Before anyone else could respond, I heard myself say, "I'll sort it." She smiled. "Are you sure?" "Of course." I ordered a new one the next morning. A month later, her dad mentioned the family car was becoming unreliable. I helped him replace it. Again, nobody demanded that I do it. I volunteered. And every time I solved another problem, I felt useful. Every thank you reassured me that I still mattered. That's the part I couldn't see at the time. I wasn't simply being generous anymore. Somewhere along the way, I had started using generosity to reassure myself that I still had a place at their table, and if that place ever felt uncertain, I found another problem to solve. Looking back, I wasn't trying to keep the family together. I was trying to earn my place in it, over and over again. Then one evening, something happened that should have opened my eyes. Instead, I found another reason to explain it away. As time went on, I started going less often, not because I was angry. I was exhausted. Some weekends, I simply couldn't sit across from Leslie and Dave pretending everything was normal. The first Sunday I missed, I assumed everyone would have dinner without me. Later that evening, my phone buzzed. Someone had sent me a photograph of the restaurant bill. Underneath it were 4 words: "Whenever you get a chance." I stared at the message. Something about it felt wrong, but almost immediately, I explained it away. If I'd been there, I would have paid anyway. So what difference did it make? I transferred the money. A few weeks later, the family started planning their annual summer holiday. Normally, I organized everything: flights, hotel, deposits. But this time, I told them I wasn't going. I needed some space. Nobody argued, and I thought that was the end of it. Then, about a week after they came home, her dad sent me a spreadsheet. Every hotel room, every meal, every activity, the entire trip had been added together. At the bottom was a message: "Just send it whenever you can." I remember staring at that spreadsheet for a long time. I hadn't gone on the holiday. I hadn't booked it. I hadn't agreed to pay for it. And still, some part of me started searching for an excuse. Maybe money was tighter than I realized. Maybe they'd assumed I wouldn't mind. Maybe they just needed help. So, I paid it. Then birthdays came around. Even when I couldn't attend, the wish lists still arrived. A handbag for mom, a watch for dad, gift vouchers, toys for the children, and something had changed. Nobody was saying, "You don't have to." Nobody was asking, "Are you sure?" The lists simply arrived, and every time, I bought what was on them, because somewhere deep inside, I still thought I was protecting something more valuable than money. My place in the family, but I wasn't protecting my place anymore. I was financing it, and there's a very big difference. Then Christmas came, the Christmas that finally opened my eyes. Not because somebody shouted at me, not because anyone asked me for money, but because of one ordinary sentence, spoken as though I wasn't even supposed to be hurt by it. By Christmas Eve, almost 2 years had passed since the divorce, and despite everything, I'd done what I always did. I bought presents for everyone. Whiskey for Leslie's dad, the handbag her mom had admired, perfume for her sister, presents for the children, even something for the dog. By then, buying for them was almost automatic. I knew everyone's tastes, their sizes, the things they mentioned months earlier and forgot they'd ever wanted. And if I'm honest, part of me still loved doing it. That evening, I loaded everything into the car and drove to the house. Miles ran straight into my arms when I arrived. Inside, Christmas looked exactly the way I remembered it. The food, the music, the noise from the kitchen, everyone together. Dave was there too. By then, I'd learned how to survive that. Dinner was almost over when a distant cousin looked across the table. He smiled at Leslie. "So, are you and Daniel back together?" The table went quiet. I gave an awkward smile. Before Leslie could answer, her mom laughed. Not cruelly, almost casually. "Oh goodness, no." Then she said, "I'm just glad Leslie finally came to her senses." I stopped smiling. She continued, completely unaware of what those words were doing to me. Dave's always been a much better match for her. Nobody spoke. Not Leslie. Not her dad. Nobody. And I remember looking around that table, waiting for someone to say something. Anything. Not because I expected them to defend our marriage. That was over. I knew that. But after everything we'd shared, I thought somebody might at least recognize how humiliating it was to hear that while I was sitting there, nobody did. And suddenly, I saw the table differently. Dave beside Leslie, me opposite them. Everyone carrying on as though this arrangement made perfect sense. For 2 years, I'd been fighting to keep my place in a family that had already reorganized itself without me. So I quietly pushed my chair back, picked up my coat, and walked towards the door. Nobody stopped me. I stepped outside, walked across the driveway, and unlocked my car. Then I heard someone behind me. "Daniel." I turned, It was Leslie's dad, and for one stupid, hopeful second, I thought he was coming to apologize. He wasn't. Leslie's dad hurried across the driveway towards me. For one brief moment, I thought he might say, "She didn't mean it," or "Don't leave like this." Honestly, I would have taken almost anything. Instead, he reached me and said, "You forgot the presents." I looked at him. "The presents?" He nodded towards my car. "They're still in the boot." For a few seconds, I didn't know what to say. Then I said, "They're staying there." His expression changed. "What do you mean?" "I mean, I'm taking them home." He frowned. "But everyone's expecting them." I looked past him. Through the living room window, everyone was still inside, talking, eating, carrying on, and standing there, I realized something. Nobody had come outside looking for me. He'd come looking for the presents. I took a breath. "I don't think tonight's the right night." He shifted awkwardly, then reached into his coat pocket. Before I forget, he pulled out a folded piece of paper. "Your birthday's next month. Mom wrote down what everyone wants." And strangely, for a second, that didn't even surprise me, because birthdays had always worked differently in our family. Years earlier, I'd started asking everyone, "What would you like for my birthday?" It was meant as a joke. I already had everything I needed, and watching them open presents genuinely made me happier than receiving anything myself. Her mom called it Daniel's birthday tradition. The children loved it. Every year, they'd decide what they wanted Uncle Daniel to buy them, and every year, I loved doing it. I never stopped to ask why nobody insisted that, just once. My birthday should be about me. So when her dad handed me that paper, part of me recognized the ritual, until I remembered what had just happened inside that house. I unfolded it. Next to every name was something else to buy. A tablet, jewelry, a designer coat, gift cards, money for the children. At the bottom, in her mom's handwriting, "Whatever you think is easiest." I looked at him. "You're serious?" He seemed confused by the question. "We thought it'd give you enough time to get everything." And that was the moment something in me finally became still. I folded the list, handed it back. "I won't be buying any of it." He stared at me. "But Daniel," then he asked, "what are we supposed to do?" And that line told me everything I needed to know. Not, "Are you all right?" Not, "Please come back inside." Not even, "I'm sorry." His first concern was what happened now that I wasn't going to keep providing. I opened the car door, started the engine, and drove away, with every Christmas present still in the boot. Not because I wanted revenge. I didn't. But because for the first time, I understood what those gifts had become. They weren't expressions of love anymore. They were the price I kept paying to feel like I still belonged. And that night, I finally stopped paying. People sometimes ask whether I regret everything I spent on that family. The holidays, the dinners, the birthdays, the mortgage, the presents. I don't, because generosity wasn't my mistake. Confusing being needed with being loved. These days, Miles and I have our own Christmas traditions. They're smaller, quieter. There aren't mountains of presents. There's nobody I need to impress, and nobody whose place at the table I have to earn. It's just us. And somehow, that feels more like family than anything I spent years trying to hold on to. For most of my life, I thought finding a family meant finding people who would finally choose me. I understand it differently now. Sometimes, family is simply where you no longer have to prove that you deserve to belong.
Daniel spent most of his life searching for a family. Perhaps that's why it took him so long to recognize the difference between being welcomed and being valued. Some confessions are about what was taken from us. Others are about the moment we finally stop giving it away.